Right, Q&A number 3. Question from Glindon. He asks, how you write your compositions? So, thanks for the question, Brad. In this video, I'll be answering the question more specifically on how to write an instrumental song, because that's the instrumental rock song, by the way, because that's the kind of music that I have been writing. So I have prepared a list of kanang tips and important points that can help us achieve that, because I think the real problem that we're faced is how to take the riff, because we can create riffs all the time, like as we're noodling around, a riff can come up, or a melody, or a chord progression, whatever. But the question is, or the real problem is, how do we take that riff and make it into a song that makes sense and ma-share na to sa ubang tao, mapaminaw nila. So mo na tong i-kuan karon, i-talk about karon, and these are the tips that can help us do that. So before we start with the first tip, shout out to Third Street Concepts. Right, new shirt, guys. Check out Third Street Concepts. First tip is have a base level of knowledge and skill. So for knowledge, it doesn't have to be advanced knowledge, but like the basic lang, major scale, and maybe pentatonic, and of course the chords in the key. So for example, if you're playing C major, you have C major, D minor, E minor, F, G dominant, A minor, and B minor flat 5. It's very useful because it can help us make a chord progression. And also, aside from the chords in the key, the intervals, so thirds, sixths, in order for us to create cool sounding harmonies and melodies. So, muna siya, basic knowledge. So, tip number 2 is goal setting. So, depende kung if you want to write a song, one song, or one album, 9 to 10 songs, it helps to know that ahead of time, because songwriting it takes a lot from us, and it demands a lot of focus and energy. At least if you're prepared to like write one song or kanang 10 songs, prepared ka mentally to do that. And it helps you visualize the end result. But like when I was writing the first album, nakuha file na to sa notepad or Excel nga akong gibutang track 1 to 9, and wala pa to yung title ang mga songs, but ako nang gitawag track 1, track 2, track 3 nya. I kinda had a vision of what it would sound like track 1 is like a rock song, and maybe track 7 is mellow and sad. So at least maka-visualize ka na ahead of time. Tip number 3, record everything. So every riff that you come up with, melody, chord progression, write it down, or write it down in a notebook, or notate it in an app like a Guitar Pro. That's what I used to do. Or record it in your cell phone, whether it's video or audio, as long as you have a catalog so that you can use it later on as you're writing the songs. Tip number 4, use a DAW, a digital audio workstation, para ma-record mo diretso, like even if it's for a demo lang. Even if you plan on recording it in a studio, recording your songs or drafts or demos in a DAW will help you as you're writing, like kanang in terms of arranging. Like pwede rin mo ma-copy paste or ma-delete. Let's say as you're writing the song, makabantay ka nga murag ay taas naman day kanina, about naman 5 minutes, makita nimo ba sa imong DAW, so you can adjust and you can delete and copy paste, depende kung sa imong ganahan. Tip number 5, we're getting into the actual songwriting now. Work with a set of parameters or limitations, or a theme, overarching theme sa song. So for example, what I mean by that, let's say yung theme is fives. So that could be anything, no? Like it could be a 5-note grouping. Like for example, 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 5-note grouping. Not really the best riff, but if you can play it as a 5-note grouping and in 16th notes, you can come up with. If you don't like that, you can change the notes, maybe a minor third. So, nanatay riff. So then I'm nakay theme, which is I came up with that riff because I was thinking of fives. Another way you can think of fives, or maybe 6 or any number, you could just look at a date of the day, like June. The month is June, so 6. So pwede ka mag 6 so or anything. So nalakay kabasihan ba? So let's just stick with fives, no? Pwede 5th interval, or if you want to go with 6, you can go the 6th interval. So you can create a riff like I'm just riffing. It's not really the best sounding music that I can generate right now, but I'm just working with the parameters that I'm talking about. So pwede na at least nakay theme to work with as you're writing the song. So, another thing about having parameters, I just like to share to you how I wrote the first song that I wrote in the katong solo album nako, which was entitled Release. I had a student nga akong nag-experiment ko niya, nakoy gisuwat, which is similar to this, no? Ako lang share sa inyo, ha. Ako siyang gidrawingan sa whiteboard. This is a visual representation of one measure of time in music. So 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and what I did with my student was I just hovered the marker back and forth, and I asked her to stop 5 times. And this is where she stopped the marker, and I just marked it there. And those markings represent an accent of the one measure. So if we were to sight read this, it will sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and tak 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 tak. And it doesn't sound like much, but that was actually the basis of the first song of the album, which was called Release. So based off of that pattern, which was randomly chosen by my student, that was the parameters that I was working with, and I tried to make it as musical as I could. And with that accent pattern, I came up with this beat. Tak 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 tak, which was the main beat of the song Release. And after that, there are times, especially when you start to write, like your mind just generate ideas and you just have to go with the flow. And I came up with this riff. So along with that beat, so that was the first riff that I came up with, which brings us to the 6th tip, is to exploit. So what do I mean by that? Taking that simple riff, one riff, and trying to interpret it in different ways, in as many ways as you can. Just an example, that was one way, the normal beat. One thing you could do as well is, or another thing that you could do is something like this, a different beat. Pwede na naon mo. Para lang na kay options ba, kay you can tie up sa 4th tip, which is using a DAW. You can just easily copy paste it around the part, any part of the song. Maybe you could have it as at the ending, so anything. I didn't use this beat in the song though, but the other interpretation that I had was this. Kanina nga beat. The same accents but with the tom and the snare. And what I did with this is I didn't do the normal, I mean the kaning basic nga riff nga akong na-associate ating nga beat. So I had this tapping lick that I saved in my phone, I guess, somewhere. And it went like this, and I was able to use it because of the third tip akong gi-record. No, so the tapping pattern went like this. So ako siyang gigamit sa kaning nga beat. So just like that, I have that section now in the song because katong tapping pattern, and by exploiting that accent pattern that my student randomly came up, nahimo ng original. So ana siya. So the next thing that we can do, tip number 7, is if you haven't already, write a chorus. So by chorus, I mean just write a chord progression, an interesting chord progression, interesting to you at least, you're the one who's writing, and write a melody over that. So if you have like a riff na, like a verse, what's next? Write a chorus. So for this song, kaning release, ang release na ako example, I decided to write this chord progression. So mo ni ang chord progression nga akong nahimo, and the next task that I was assigned to myself was write a melody for that, and this is what I came up with. Not exactly what I wrote, but similar to that ang melody. Tip number 8 is have a reference. So before I actually started writing the album, nag-study ko og mga different songs nga lahi-lahi og kanang structure, no? Like for example, makabantay ko kanang kang Frank Gambale nga song, basic kay ang structure, like he has an intro, verse, and chorus, and he go back to the intro, then verse again, but with the second verse he doesn't play the melody, he solos over it, he improvises over it, and then chorus again, then ending. So simple kay ang structure ni Frank Gambale, and you can follow that if you want, but I found out that lahi-lahi nga mga artists, lahi-lahi sila style, lahi-lahi structure ilang mga songs. Like for example kang Jose Triani, usually na siya verse, melody, then after sa like the chorus of the song kay na siya murag duwa nga instrumental nga mag solo siya, usually mag change key, like pitch axis mo na yung style. So alam lang, so mo na siyang 8th tip is to study different songs and the songs that you like, that you want to follow or you want to base off your songs, para mo na kay guide, gaya na kay reference kung mo na mong sundon. Tip number 9 is assign an idea to a song. So what is the song all about? So usually that comes first, no? Like you want to write a song about happiness, or let's say nabuwagan ka, you want to write a sad song. So, it helps because if everything is kanang you're lost, at least you have that as a guiding idea where the song will go. Assign an idea or an emotion or a thought or a memory to a song. It will help with the writing process. Tip number 10, let it flow. So sometimes as you're writing, I think I mentioned this earlier, um, as you're writing, the ideas will just flow, and you just have to go with it where the music takes you. And take note of the third tip, which is record everything. You have to capture it, because if you're just letting it flow, sometimes if dini mo i-record, malimtan na nimo. So, mo na siya. Tip number 11 is, this is like a combo tip. Kay daghan ni siya. Ako na siyang gi-label other tools. So, in case you run out of ideas what to write next, you can always either one, you can take the chorus, and instead of playing the melody of the chorus, you can write an arpeggio section, like a sequence of arpeggios for the chords, based off the chords of the chorus. Or you could have a guitar solo, keyboard solo, battle back and forth, or bass solo or drum solo, depende. Or you could have kuan ka sa route ni katong Cupid's Dead sa Extreme, Nuno Betancourt, where nagkuan sila Riffmania. You can do that. So, mula yung guitar solo, just a bunch of riffs that kick ass. So, pwede na nimo ibutang sa imong kanta, then you can resolve by going back to the chorus and end. So, tip number 12 is decide on a cool title. If it's instrumental, there are no words, and I'm not good with words, but the title is the only thing that has words in it that you have to come up with for the song that you're writing. So you have to give it some thought kung sa may title niya. What's this about? Lastly is, the 13th tip is, believe in yourself. Double down in your ideas and salig sa imong kaugalingon. It may sound crappy at first, and that's normal. You're gonna get good at it. Just salig lang sa imong kaugalingon, and try to exploit pug-adjud ang creative juice. See where it takes you. Then you can decide kung pati dyan siya na lang release. Then go to the next song, and it will be better. So na. So I guess mo na to siya tanan tips nga akong ma-share para makatabang ninyo write sa instrumental song. So yeah, salamat sa pagtanaw. Right, bye.